It sounds almost unbelievable, but in the United States, only about 0.0003% of people ever reach billionaire status. That's literally fewer than 1 in 300,000 Americans. For every person scrolling social feeds dreaming of explosive wealth or a sudden tech breakthrough, only a microscopic fraction will ever get there. So if you've ever wondered why it's so rare, or why the American dream feels increasingly out of reach for most people, this video will unpack the real forces behind that staggering number, and it's not just talent or hard work. Right now, the US is home to roughly 900 to over 1,100 billionaires, depending on the data source. That seems like a lot until you compare it to a population of more than 330 million people. At that scale, becoming a billionaire isn't just rare, it's almost statistically impossible. And here's the kicker. That tiny elite controls an extraordinary amount of wealth, with the top few hundred billionaires holding trillions of dollars between them. But the scarcity of billionaires isn't random. It's the result of deep-running economic forces. Some you've heard about, and others that most people never talk about. If you plot wealth growth in the US, you see a pattern that can feel almost unfair. Those who already have large amounts of capital see their wealth compound exponentially. For most Americans, income comes from wages or salaries, money that gets spent on rent, bills, food, and necessities. After debt payments, there's often no leftover for investments or assets that grow over time. Meanwhile, wealthy households funnel money into stocks, private businesses, real estate, and other financial assets that don't just hold value, they reproduce it. This difference alone creates a vast divide in outcomes over a lifetime. A lot of people believe billionaires are purely self-made, that they hustled their way to the top from nothing. But recent wealth tracking reveals a different pattern. In the last year alone, a record number of individuals became billionaires, primarily through inheritance, collectively receiving hundreds of billions of dollars from family wealth transfers. That doesn't mean they didn't add value later, but it does mean access to initial capital gives a massive head start that most people don't have. And considering the projection that trillions in wealth will be passed down in the coming decade, that dynamic is only going to become more entrenched. Wealth concentration isn't just an accident of history. Policy choices help drive it. Over the past decades, tax cuts, loopholes, and financial structures have disproportionately benefited high net worth individuals. For example, wealthy individuals often pay lower effective tax rates than middle income earners. Inherited wealth can be transferred with minimal tax impact. Billionaires can borrow against their stock holdings instead of selling them, delaying taxes and preserving wealth growth. These aren't fringe facts, they're built into the system. And while policies aren't the sole reason billionaires exist, they certainly make the path smoother for those who already occupy the starting line. Most billionaires aren't rich because they worked 9-to-5 jobs, they own businesses or equity. The value of owning a company that scales globally can far outstrip any salary or income from labor alone. But here's the catch. Starting a billion-dollar company isn't just about a great idea. It requires access to early capital connections to investors, the ability to weather years, often decades, without profit, a market that rewards rapid growth. These conditions are rare, even for highly talented entrepreneurs. And for most people, lack of capital and access blocks the path before it ever really starts. Another layer rarely discussed outright is how money can shape the rules of the game. Research shows that billionaires and their corporations spend heavily on lobbying and political influence, reinforcing policies that protect their interests. This isn't conspiracy, it's documented. Corporate strategies often aim to block progressive tax reforms, secure favorable regulations, and defend monopoly power that keeps competition at bay. Put plainly, the wealthy don't just play the game, they help define the rules. Americans are taught to believe in the meritocratic ideal that hard work alone can get you to the top. But when we look at the data, it tells a more complicated story. Socioeconomic mobility in the US is significantly impacted by family, background, education, access, race, and gender disparities, geographic inequality, persistent gaps in income and wealth across racial groups make clear that opportunity isn't equal, it's stratified. So while talent and grit matter, structural factors matter more. Here's the emotional part. Many Americans still believe anyone can make it to the very top of the wealth ladder. Polls show strong optimism about extreme wealth and financial mobility. But optimism doesn't change the numbers. And the numbers show a system where wealth compounds for those already at the top, while the rest builds slowly, if at all. For every tech founder whose story goes viral, millions never see the doors open wide enough to step through. So why do only about 0.0003% of Americans reach billionaire status? It's a mix of structural advantages, inherited capital market, and policy dynamics. Access to opportunity that most people never get, and a system that reinforces wealth at the top. This isn't to say effort doesn't matter, but the playing field isn't level. And at extreme levels of wealth like billionaires, luck, inheritance, and structural opportunity often outweigh hard work. If you walk away with one insight from this video, let it be this. Billionaire status is less a pure merit badge and more a reflection of systemic scarcity. The question then becomes, not just how do we get more billionaires, but how do we create a system where more people have a fair shot at financial security, stability, and upward mobility?